Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Our first story about a terrible manager and his battle with our OP. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. My time is valuable. I was a bartender in a fancy restaurant in a snotty town. The restaurant was run by a snotty, affected, rude manager. The time clock was right beside the door used by the employees, and the coat room was in a small room across the restaurant from the employees' entrance. It took maybe 20 seconds to get there and hang up your coat. Everyone would walk in, clock in, then put our coats away. I just clocked in and was walking to the coat room, removing my coat as I went. Rude manager grabbed me and in a very loud and rude tone said, "Stop. Go back and clock out. Put your coat away, then clock in." Okay, sure, dude. The thing is, I used to stop on the way in and buy the newspaper for the bar. No big deal. Of course, it was off the clock, but not anymore. From then on, I would drive straight to work without stopping for the papers. I would get in, put my coat away, walk back across the restaurant and clock in, then go back to the coat room and put my coat back on, leave and buy the newspapers for the bar, then go back and put my coat away, all on the clock. In order to save the restaurant 20 seconds per day on the time clock, rude manager ended up costing them more than an hour per week extra. I got more money, he got no more polite. The restaurant went out of business a few months later. And our next story. Because it's my property and I decide who lives in it. I'm an only son. My mom died of cancer at only 55 5 years ago. Broke my dad's heart. They had been together since college and were the same age, with my dad being a month older. I'm 22 and am about to graduate college with my degree in chemistry when the main events start to occur. I went to college on a full-ride scholarship. This is important later. My dad met my now stepmom when she was my mom's nurse at the hospital where she spent her final days. My stepmom, Grace, played all the right notes to gain my dad's trust. She was empathetic to him, nurturing, comforting after my mom passed. I was 17 and old enough to sense that she was just trying to weasel her way into getting my dad's resources, but it was up to my dad if he wanted to be in a relationship with her. I was in my final year of public school and had just won a scholarship to attend college out of the country the following year. My dad mourned my mom for a year, and that whole time, Grace would check in on him by phone every month or so, in my opinion, to scope out the possibility of sinking her hooks in him. After a year passed, Grace took the gloves off and went hard after my dad. Grace was only 40 when she and my dad started seeing each other. I didn't like her, but at the same time, my dad at least didn't seem so depressed anymore. So I tried to be less pessimistic about her and give her the benefit of the doubt. In my gut, I didn't trust her, though. But we are Scandinavian, and at least in my family, the son does not tell his father what to do or even offer an opinion. Grace is from the Czech Republic, if you're wondering. My father was a very successful banker during his career and amassed quite a portfolio of wealth. I'll spare you the details, but after 6 months of dating, Grace and my father are married. My dad never really got over my mom, though, and he was getting weaker and weaker even though he was only 57. Since his health was fading, he called me to him and asked me point blank, "Boy, what do you need to set you up in this life?" I told him I didn't need anything. I'm a man and can take care of myself. "But what are you even talking about, Dad? You're going to be around for decades yet." I did remind him that he had living sisters with children, my aunts and cousins. I also reminded him that I had a full scholarship to college, so don't worry about giving me any cash. He was dead only a year later at 59. I, of course, have seen lots of Hollywood movies, so I consider the conspiracy theory that maybe my dad's nurse wife poisoned him and made him sign over all his money to her. But I really, honestly, don't think that's what happened. Other relatives didn't like Grace either, but they knew my dad was totally in love with my mom and that her death utterly broke him. Well, long story short, my dad bequeathed this 5-bedroom house to me even though I wasn't expecting it and didn't ask for it. He gave a small endowment to each of his sisters and their children. He left about 80% of all his existing money to Grace, which amounted to several hundreds of thousands of dollars. My dad ignored me because he's generous to a fault and still gave me several tens of thousands of dollars, which were of course very useful to me. Grace tried to put on a friendly front, but I could tell she was angry as hell that she didn't get my dad's house too. That belonged to me, and I had the legal papers to prove it. She was especially mad because we live in an extremely upscale and trendy location, and houses are hard to come by and easily sold for massive profit. During the first few months after my dad's death, I had the nauseating, creepy experience of knowing that Grace was trying to feel me out if I might be into a little relationship with her. Gross. She still stayed in the house, though, because over the last 3 years, she'd gotten used to living there and acting like she owned it. And even though I officially owned it, I was always away at college and only visited my dad's old house once every couple months. And even then, it wasn't to see Grace, but to see my cousins who lived just a few miles away. I downplayed the fact that it was really my house, and over the months, I think Grace gradually forgot that she had no legal right to the house. She probably believed that sooner or later, because I never asked her for any of the hundreds of thousands of my dad's dollars that she now had, that I was somehow independently wealthy and would just give up my house to her. I knew I'd eventually hydrogen bomb this bee when she started dating some new guy only 5 months after my dad was in the ground. And one time when I came home from college after graduating, she and her new boyfriend, some sleazy-looking D-bag named Ivan, who was only a few years older than me, were acting like I was a guest in my own house and that they owned it. I played along. Grace told me she gave away my PlayStation 4 to Ivan's cousin because I'm too old to play with video games. I don't even know this mother effer, and you give him my PS4 to give away to some other crap who I also don't know? I quickly changed all my network passwords that same day. I smiled, but I knew what I had to do eventually. She also said that she and Ivan were getting married because I just can't mourn your father forever. I have to move on with life. I tell her that I graduated college and already secured employment with a local firm and will soon find a new place to live. She looks thrilled, especially the part where it looks like I'll soon have a new place to live. Then in a patronizing way, she tells me, "You always have a place in our house, though. You are welcome to stay whenever you please." Thanks, Grace. Really generous of you. What I really say is that I will probably have a new place in 3 months. She says that's wonderful because she intends to go to her homeland to have a wedding with Ivan and afterward have her honeymoon. She assures me it's a local affair, otherwise I'd invite you, honey. And anyway, I know you're so busy. I congratulate her. She asks me if I can watch the house for her. Watch my own house? Sure. What I really say is, of course I'll take care of the house. I'm careful not to say your house. She and her D-bag fiancé, who I'm 100% sure is there only for Grace's money, go on their trip, and I immediately put out advertisements and rental websites offering to lease my house. I hire movers and have all of Grace's furniture and possessions boxed up and put into a storage rental facility. I retain all of my parents' furniture that they had before my dad met Grace. Locks? Changed. All of them. Within days, I'm inundated with dozens of inquiries regarding my amazing furnished house with fantastic views. I rent it to a wonderful young family, a barrister and his schoolteacher wife, and their 2 preteen children. They pay me their first and last month's rent and sign a lease for a year. I warn them about my crazy stepmom who thinks this is her house, but I present them with contact information to my lawyer, the same lawyer my dad retained, in case they need any assurance that I'm on the level. I also give my lawyer the information about the storage facility, including the fact that I generously paid 4 months of storage in advance, which is a whole month longer than Grace Check's honeymoon adventure. I then found a great apartment in the city near my new place of work. There, I met a woman in a restaurant I frequent at night after a long workday. We've been dating 6 months now and are engaged to be married. Grace, of course, tried to shriek and cause trouble when she realized she got kicked out of my house, but my lawyer quickly shut her mouth without my having to ever speak to her garbage face again. From what I hear, her and her trash husband left the country, and I assume they're blowing through my dad's money and will soon be broke like people usually become when they taste a little bit of what they think is the good life. So maybe Grace will go and try to exploit some other lonely man into giving her his money. Speaking of money, the house that I rent out is generating so much money that not only am I able to help pay for my cousin's college, but I moved into a larger apartment of my own, together with my fiancé. I love my job, but really, I could survive solely on renting my dad's old house. And to think, if Grace had only been cooler and nicer, I might have let her stay at the house, just to be a good sport. and definitely if she stayed the hell out of my room. But no, she had to act all proprietary, and I had to make her homeless as a wedding gift. And our last short story. Don't want to give me access? Here, you have hundreds of emails. I'm currently, and with no plans on ending this, a petty revenge with a coworker right now. We've changed the system, and I need to document all the incidents that are happening with the customers. My coworker plainly said to me that he won't give me access to the new system because you don't need it. And to be fair, don't know why you had access to the old one. And despite all my examples of what I need it for, he is not giving me an account. Cue the petty revenge. Every time there's an incident, I send him an email. Sweet, short email with the case number and brief description. Copy-paste essentially. Won't take me longer than 20 seconds to write it. After that, I've set an automatic email so that every 24 hours the email goes unanswered, a new email is sent with a follow-up. Any news on this? ? I started on Wednesday, but with around 30 cases a day, by my calculations, he should already have around 270 emails, 90 original cases, plus the reminders. I hope that I'll get the account next week, or sadly his inbox will be saturated soon with so many emails about something he could have easily avoided. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.